Okay. Okay. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming to attend today. Um, this talk, like I said earlier, I've been putting this talk together for the past few years. I've been getting downloads as far as to let's just put some things out there. It might sound a little weird, but um, if you're spiritually sensitive, we kind of get these things called downloads, right? Or we receive light. And when for the past few years, I've just been getting lots of information as far as to why people aren't healing and how they can. So when I first started this journey, let's do this first. So first of all, let's go back. So when I first started doing this talk, putting together ideas for this talk, the number one question that kept coming to my mind was that why aren't people healing? So as a healthcare practitioner, as an acupuncturist, I was seeing patients who were coming in and they were following all the scripts. They were they were eating right, they were exercising, they were doing their PT, and regardless of what they did, their physical ailments just kind of stayed the same. They never really received healing. At best, they were able to achieve symptom relief. And over the years, I started to get really frustrated, and so I started to ask the question, well, why aren't people healing? And what came to me over time was that there's a lot of issues when we look at just so and when we look at just the foundations of your nutrients, of your nutrition, your dietary changes, all of these other things, and even you're getting care, and even though your blood work is normal, there are certain aspects of the body that still just weren't going away. Certain symptoms were just they would go away, they'd come back up, they'd go away, come back up, and then not only did it get frustrating for my patients, it also got really frustrating for me. And then I started to ask these questions. Well, why aren't these patients, particular patients, healing when they're doing all the work? When they're doing all the work, and I'm sitting right there with them in their frustrations. And over time, I started to recognize that we have to start addressing the spirit. So when we start addressing the spirit, when we start addressing the spirit, then and start healing the spirit, start identifying what aspects of the self are wounded and how we can transmute and transform these aspects of ourselves, then the physical symptoms they begin to go away. And it requires changes, lots of inner work. And so that's how it led to to the topics of this talk. And it goes into the whole soul's path to healing, the whole journey of us being here as souls, to come here to learn the lessons, to go through the obstacles, learn the lessons, become the best versions of ourselves possible, and then we will achieve healing. So it started off with that very simple question. Okay, so let's move on. So I'm gonna start. Let's go start to talk here. So okay, so first of all, who am I? Right. Um, my name is Peng Rodher. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I'm a medical intuitive and a master of Qigong. I've been teaching Qigong since 2007. I started learning martial arts and meditation and Qigong around age 13. Went public with my abilities back in 2006 and started officially teaching Qigong in 2007. So when I first started, I never wanted to teach Qigong. Uh, I, I never wanted to teach Qigong. I just really wanted to just practice it for myself. And but the universe had different plans, and so I had to start teaching Qigong. So let's just move on to that piece. And then I've been practicing acupuncture since 2011. Once I started practicing acupuncture, I started noticing that certain themes kept coming up. And I started to recognize and realize that the body was much more complex than I thought, and that treating the spirit required some life coaching. And so let's go into my accreditation. I'm board certified by the NCCAOM for in acupuncture and oriental medicine, and I'm also licensed by the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice as an acupuncturist. I'm just gonna go into a little bit of credentials, and then we'll move on. Okay. So traditional Chinese medicine is a whole system of personalized medicine with an emphasis on wellness and prevention, wellness prevention and health maintenance. So traditional Chinese medicine is a modality that is uh, more of a preventative and wellness-based approach versus kind of a conventional medicine. Conventional medicine, where conventional medicine excels at is when you go in, when you have an accident, an auto accident, or just a serious acute injury. Where I feel where conventional medicine fails is when it comes to chronic conditions. And so a lot of these conditions, like autoimmune issues, um, nerve damage, nerve pain, all of these things that are chronic, and fatigue and digestive issues, all of these things that are long standing and chronic over time, conventional medicine just has pills that cause the symptoms to go away, but then cause all these other side effects, never really getting to the root cause, to the root source of these issues. And whereas traditional Chinese medicine and other holistic practices take a deeper look and more holistic approach to healing the body from all different avenues. Okay, so I'm an acupuncturist. So I solve problems you know that you have in ways you can't understand. So from a Chinese medicine standpoint, we look at the body uh, as software and hardware. The physical body is your hardware, and then the software are your emotions, your thought patterns, your belief systems, um, all of these things. And then we look at how these subtle energies in the body, how they affect the body. So we check the pulse, we check the tongue, and based upon the pulse and the tongue, it gives us an idea of where energy is lacking in the body and how they're affecting each and specific organ. And so we needle the specific meridians that are causing these issues to strengthen those specific organs, internal organs. So there's an energetic component, which is the meridians and the channels, and then there's the physical component, which is the internal organs. And each organ system has a different perspective from what we see in conventional medicine today. So the liver system has to do with blood flow, has to do with anger, has to do with your eyes, has to do with all these other things. And so when we look at certain symptoms, we treat specific meridians that affect those specific organ systems. And so when we look at tongue and pulse, we see things, we look at the tongue and pulse, they are predictors, or they give us a diagnosis of where you're at and what things will come if you don't make changes. And so we try to always change and move the needle in a more positive direction. Okay, so Qigong. So Qigong is an ancient breathing and moving exercise that predates Tai Chi and derived from movements from ancient practices of shamanism. The origins of Qigong come from shamanic practices. There were certain shamans that would go into trance. And when they go into trance, um, they would access divine energy. They would access divine energy. They would call upon certain healing spirits, and they would go into trance, do these movements, and they would use these movements to kind of like heal the people that they're helping with. And what they found over the years was that these exercises, while they were in trance, was producing health and healing for the shaman, for him or herself. So then the shamans, they started replicating these movements and then started practicing them, and then eventually started to teach them. And when they started to teach them to others, then the others who started practicing them also were able to connect to the divine, were able to channel healing energy and begin to start healing for themselves. Okay, so these are some of the things that I treat as far as acupuncture. So let's go to that list and we'll move on. But the thing that gets me most excited about the work that I do is spiritual transformation. When when I say spiritual transformation, it's really about when my patients and students begin to recognize the patterns and the behaviors that are stuck in them, that are making them sick, keeping them stuck in loops. And when we we can get them and guide them to recognize these patterns and they start making changes, they start transforming themselves. Okay, so who is this talk for? Right? Because I kind of wanted to hone this down a little bit. So who is this talk for? So those who tried everything are compliant, got results, and now are experiencing diminishing returns. Healers, healthcare practitioners, and seekers of truth from all backgrounds of healing, and those embarking a spiritual awakening or a spiritual journey. And those who are looking for some clarity to their spiritual afflictions, and those who are seeking to explore why we suffer, why we're here, and how to better navigate the obstacles of life. So just for a point of clarification, this talk is for those who have tried everything, are compliant, got results, and now experiencing diminishing returns. Okay. Those who tried complementary and alternative medicine, chiropractic, massage, nutrition, acupuncture, energy medicine. And those who try personal development and self-improvement, such as yoga, tai chi, qigong, meditation, and other self-help tools. So we're going to go into my healing journey. So here's me. Okay, so everybody can relax, right? I like to joke. I got jokes. So this is me eating, right? Right. This is all of us before we know better, eating crap while still exercising, right? You got you're on this mouse wheel that just keeps going. And then this was me at my absolute worst, my absolute heaviest. I was probably about 192, 193 pounds around this time. I ate whatever I wanted to eat. I did all the things, just like everybody else, right? And this is me eating my favorite dish, my favorite appetizer, fried calamari, like a pelican straight down the gullet. Didn't even need to chew. Okay. And this is me drinking a beer in a paper bag out in public. Super classy, super classy. And this one is amazing. This is my most epic picture of all times. This is me drinking beer underwater. Okay. So So at the end of the day, I'm just a regular guy, and I had to learn and change and make improvements within myself. Okay. So here, so here's a little story about my health history. So back in, let me see here, back in June, back in June of 2021, I started experiencing really intense, sharp, ice pick stabbing headaches on my left side. Um, and they just wouldn't go away. I treated it with acupuncture. At this time, my diet was pretty clean. At this time, I was exercising quite a bit, uh, and I just kept getting these stabbing pains that shot down, and every once in a while, I would lose my balance, um, and every once in a while, I would get nauseous. So I started to panic. I got I honed my diet. I did the herbs. I did everything, but it just wouldn't go away. Um, I also started to suffer um, heartburn, and at that time, I was really stressed in life. My life was just like I was in a huge transition in my life. I was going through a divorce. I was having, all these other things that were coming up, and so I was so afraid because I couldn't sleep. Every once when I'd wake up with headaches, sharp pain, stabbing pain, and headache, and these are so to me as a healthcare practitioner, these are all signs and symptoms saying that, hey, Peng, you might have a brain tumor. And so I was scared for my life. I feared for my life, and I tried to get in to get scans, and they wouldn't let me do this. when you're trying to figure out what's wrong, when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with you, the medical system takes months for you to schedule anything, and by that time, you're living in anxiety and anticipation as far as to what is wrong. So there's this program called Pronuvo. It's expensive. It's like you're paying $2,500, but they do a full body MRI scan, and they check your nervous system, they check for tumors, they check for your bones, skeletal system, they check everything. And so at that time, I scrounged up the money to do this scan, and uh, and luckily there was no brain tumor, um, but but they did find a couple things, and this is one of the things that they found. They found that I had a hiatal hernia, and that was what's causing all the acid reflux that I was experiencing, and the heartburn, and the panic attacks, and the anxiety, and the at that time I was also losing weight because I couldn't eat anything, and all the stress levels. And then it took me a while to get. I was doing acupuncture 3 times a week. I changed my diet. I ate super clean. I was just eating like a rice porridge and chicken, and I was taking a bunch of supplements and aloe juice. And at that time, I also did, I also went in and got a colonoscopy, and also, what's it called? The one where they stick in your mouth, the endoscopy and the colonoscopy to check to see what was going on. And what they found was that I had H. pylori with which was basically I had stomach ulcer, and so my stress level was so high that I had stomach ulcer. So I took care of it uh, through just dietary changes and herbs and teas and everything else, and lots of acupuncture, lots of qigong practice, and so took care of that. After that happened, I started feeling pretty good, and then back in March of 2020, back in March of 2023. So I want to say at the October, and I hope everybody's okay if I just be weird and just be myself. Okay. So back in October of 2022, my guides told me, "Hey, Peng, we need you at 5% body fat." So my guides are like, "Peng, we need you at 5% body fat." I was like, "Whoa, man, 5% body fat? You guys are fat shaming me." And I said, "Fine, the heck with it, let's do it." And so I went to the gym. I started lifting 3, 4 times a week. I was running 4 to 5 days a week. I was running 25, 35 minutes every day, lifting, and I was eating at this time primarily a pescatarian diet. And by around March of 2023, before my talk on the Soul's Path to Healing, I suffered from mercury poisoning. So uh, once I went through the mercury poisoning, I thought I was dying. I was dropping my keys. I was forgetting patients' names. I had all kinds of mental, emotional psychosis type of issues. And I also went to a spiritual retreat. And again, this was like the cleanest I've ever been because I got to about 7% body fat before. So I got to about 7% body fat. I was probably around 11 or 10% body fat, and I got to about 7% body fat, close to 5. And then I started getting really sick. And then I asked, my guy's like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, this is the cleanest I've ever been. I shouldn't be sick." And and then I felt taps on my jaw, and I said, "Oh man, the only thing that's in my body that is dirty are the silver fillings." So your silver fillings are made of half of the silver fillings is made of mercury. Mercury is the second most toxic poison known to man, and yet they put it in our mouths for cavity fillings. And so what happened to me was that heavy metals are stored in the body via the visceral fat and also your fat. So what happened to me was I started to drop the weight, burn the fat, And as I burned the fat, it off gassed, it released all of the metals out of my fat and into my bloodstream, into my brain, passing blood-brain barrier, affecting me, my cognitive functions. I lost my motor function skills. I couldn't. I'm a lifelong martial artist, and I could barely move. And there were days I'd get up and I would stumble and I would trip. There was one time I almost fell out of the tub. And so from there, when I had that mercury poisoning, around that time, I had to go on sabbatical and focus on my health. And so then I went I went to a holistic dentist, took a look at the cavities, took at the fillings, and then got them removed by a holistic dentist. And from there, I learned a lot. And then once I got all the mercury fillings removed, I thought everything was clear. I went and saw my holistic dentist, and he did a full 3D scan of my jaw, and this is when I learned about cavitations. Okay. These are the two things I really want folks to pay attention to. Your oral health, if you have root canals or cavitations, meaning uh, wisdom teeth removed, if you have silver fillings in your mouth, these things are very likely contributing to your autoimmune issues, your fatigue, your digestive issues, all of these issues. Okay. So from here, so if you can look when I wave this little thing here, let me see if I can go back. So okay. So these four blue dots back here are where where my wisdom teeth were as a teenager. So because they were crowding, they were pushing, and it was causing lots of pain during that time when I was 15. And so I went in and got them removed. Once they were removed, they weren't they didn't heal properly. So dead tissue was um, kept in the sockets while the new healing gums healed over it, keeping dead tissue in the body and leaving these pockets of necrosis and infections where bacteria can continue to grow and leach into the bloodstream, causing constant infection. And this has been known to cause all kinds of digestive issues, all kinds of fatigue, leading to all kinds of autoimmune issues and even cancer. Okay. So if you have your wisdom teeth removed, I really recommend that you go to a holistic dentist or a biological dentist and get a full scan to see what's going on. Okay. Same thing with root canals. Same thing with any metals in the mouth. If it's a titanium implant, uh, if there's solar fillings, these things they gotta go. Okay. All right. So the cavitations. So then after that, I had to go in and get cavitations removed. Um, so all four cavitations removed, and when that happened, I started feeling better. Okay. So that's my story. Um, so these are the things that I've been dealing with, and I've learned a lot along the way, and I want to share as much of this with you as possible. But today, I want to focus on the talk, which is the spiritual component. Okay. So do you have physical symptoms that won't go away? Okay. So insomnia, interrupted sleep, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, heartburn, fatigue, head pressure, headaches, vertigo, dizziness, unexplained nausea, night sweats, vivid dreams, and other unexplained symptoms or mysterious symptoms that won't go away no matter what you throw at it. Okay. Or an overall sense of unease without anything you can point to, and your lab results are normal. Okay. So typically, a lot of my patients who are in the thick of it, their lab works look normal and they are following the routine and they are getting the right nutrition, they are eating clean, they are doing all these things, and the lab work looks normal, yet still they feel like crap. They feel miserable. So that's when I started to really, really dig deep and try to figure out what was going on. Okay. Have you changed your habits, your nutrition, your supplements? Have you used all sorts of complementary and alternative medicine therapies, got results even though you're compliant, and now experiencing diminishing returns, or at best, you're only able to manage the symptoms? Okay. So perhaps the care you're addressing, you're getting is addressing everything else except for the spirit. More specifically, a misalignment of the soul's evolution. Okay. And if this is the case, perhaps it is a spiritual issue, an issue that requires an understanding of the human spirit and the evolution of the soul. Okay. So then how do we go about healing the spirit? Right. Um, so many healers talk about healing the spirit, but how do we heal the spirit? Is there a process to it? Is it measurable? And if so, what metrics do we use? How do we determine progress? And what does healing the spirit look like? Okay. So let's talk about the healing as a spiritual journey. And we're going to come all the way around back to it. So what I've recognized that healing is not just your supplements, not just your medications, not just all of these things. Healing is personal transformation. So healing is a spiritual journey, a continuous process of personal transformation requiring multiple deaths and rebirths, and it can't be done without connecting to source, getting in alignment to the source, or without your intuition. So today, we're going to explore what's happening on the planet right now at the spiritual level, the soul's evolution, the probability of us living in a simulation, how to identify when the spirit needs healing, and how to go about healing the spirit when you tried everything else to no avail. Okay, so let's go over some of the foundations for healing. So over the years, I started to really think about whole person healing. How do we instigate healing? And what are all the different pillars that we have to look at in order to engage healing? And what I found is this, what I put together was this. Okay? First is we need to check to make sure that your nutrition and your supplements are on point. There has to be physical activity, cardio training, strength training. There has to be mental fortitude or an attitude of gratitude. Positivity is what allows and instigates healing. And then forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. And then there's a spiritual practice and then self-awareness. So let's go back to forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. When we, over the years, and it has to be done in this particular manner. Over the years, I treated many patients who again, everything they're following is correct, but then they don't practice forgiveness. If you can't forgive anybody, if you can't forgive somebody, that becomes an energetic poison to the body, and essentially you're poisoning yourself. And so when you practice forgiveness, forgiveness is medicine. Forgiveness is medicine. And so when you can forgive, then the body will start to release these emotions. And then the body will start to heal and follow suit. So I can't stress this enough, because if you're angry and bitter and resentful and you're having a very difficult time forgiving others, you're only hurting yourself. So I can't push and stress forgiveness enough. Okay. And then a couple of things that started to add to this is detoxification, meaning coffee enemas, colonics, juice fasting, and other things that help with saunas and other things that help with detoxing, sweating, getting toxins out of the body. The other thing is biohacking, red light therapy, infrared saunas, light exposure, getting out in the sun, exposing yourself to the sunlight, grounding, getting your feet into the earth, stepping on the soil, grounding. Okay. And the other one is fasting or intermittent fasting, taking time to not eat, so you give your digestive system a time to rest and repair and replenish the body. Okay. And then we're going to jump into the body conscious. So to me, so this was part of my one of the downloads that I got. The body has, so they call it the body conscious, meaning that the body has a mind of its own. The body has its own programming. So the body conscious, it has its own consciousness. It's an intelligence which is almost devoid of our confluence in our conscious influence. Sorry. As your mind has memory, your body has an even stronger sense of memory. The body retains memory at lengths to which our minds cannot. Cellular memory carries within it an intelligence that is beyond the intellect. So when you think about the body, the body is very complex. We tend to think that, oh, this is me. Well, if I were to ask you, um, if I were to ask you, what do your ancestors look like? You would have no idea. No idea. And yet your body, your eyes, they belong to somebody. You inherited them. Your nose, your hair color, your ears. And not only do you inherit your physical traits from your ancestors, you also inherit their physical characteristics. So let's think about dogs, right? And then, this is Payne comparing us to dogs, right? We breed certain dogs to do certain things. Certain dogs, they hunt. Certain dogs, they protect the home. Certain dogs, they go and they catch mice. Well, those particular breeds has particular character, right? They herd sheep. Those particular breeds of dogs, they do specific things, and they have those particular characteristics. Well, we're not that far different. We're not that far. And so depending upon your genetic ancestry, you inherit particular physical characteristics and also um, uh, personality traits that come with this physical construct. So there are more complicated activities occurring within the body than the mind. Most of it is unconscious. This is the intelligence of cellular memory. So again, the body remembers so many things. And much of our programming, we tend to believe that these are our thoughts, that these are the things that I like, or these are the things that I'm good at. For example, a friend of mine he's of Viking blood, and he would do what they call it's like you're skiing, but also you're archery. So basically, he's going cross. I forget it. You're skiing, and then he has archery. So he was so good at it. This was like the first time he ever did it, but he was like, why am I so good at it? He's like, it must be my Viking blood. And so we tend to have these qualities, these personality traits that are coming from these particular ancestries. Okay. So it's like, so what does this have to do with my symptoms? Okay. And how does this, so we're going to make it a little bit more practical. And how does healing the spirit help me? And why does the spirit need healing? And how does it manifest in the body? Okay. So there's a book that I want to recommend if you want to take a chance. It's called The Body Keeps Score. Uh, and it's about how the body's storing traumas within the body. And a lot of the times, I should say, all of us have inherited ancestral traits, ancestral trauma through the genetic code. And they've done clinical studies on this on rats and also for crows. And what they found is that traumas or certain patterns and behaviors are passed down the next generations. And so certain things are passed down through genetic code. And so we'll have certain afflictions that come from, so for example, uh, we look at certain families and when they have a family of, right, alcoholism, and that passes down. Depression and suicide, that passes down. Um, Gambling, drug addictions, all these things that they pass down throughout the generations. And so these are some of the things are causing the afflictions. And it's how these traumas are stored within the body. There's another great book. I'm still in the middle of this book, When the Body Says No. So when you want to get a chance, this is a great book that was recommended to me. Uh, Exploring the connection between our physical ailments, our physical symptoms, our diseases, and also how we navigate ourselves in the world and how we view the world and how these things may cause and contribute to our illnesses and our physical symptoms. Okay, so the body conscious. Okay, so within each of us is a community of identities. Within each of us, we have certain we when I say community of identities, it's your you may be a father, mother, brother, sister, aunt, mom, uncle, student, professional. All these identities are within us. So we are a community of identities. And so all of that is stored within you. That is the makeup of who you are. And each identity within us has a say, and they are influencing our every decision, conscious or unconscious. So every experience that you have, if you have a religious influence, if you have a political influence, if you have a whatever your life experiences, all of your life experiences are contributing to who you are and who you are as a totality today. So you're not one individual, you are a community of identities, a community of individuals making up the entire of you. Okay. So we're going to go into uh, our life experiences as far as the body conscious. So we're going to go from past to present. So, and we're going to go from age. So I'm just going to throw out 3 years old. So here's you at 3 years old. Here's you at 5 years old. Here's 9, these are 9, 13, 16, and today, present. Okay. So let's say that you, at 3 years old, you experience your parents divorced, or um, you were put up, you were put into to a foster home, right? Something like this. This is a wound. This is an identity. This is an aspect of yourself. It causes a shattering to that aspect of you in that time, at that 3-year-old you. This happened to you. There's a shattering of the spirit at that time. Okay. And then at 5 years old, something else happened, right? And that is a shattering of the spirit. And then again here at 9, and then at 13, and then at 16, and then there's present day. Okay. So every trauma or significant transition in your life causes shattering of the incarnate soul, shattering of the spirit. So trauma, negative beliefs, negative thoughts, negative self-talk, physical ailments, poor habits, and a victim mindset causes you to be stuck in this perpetual state of unhealing. And so we can treat all of these things, but until we take a deep dive and really look at your upbringing, your life experiences, and really peel away and start making changes, then we can't really heal the spirit. Okay? So each of these wounded identities consume life force from the body. And this may explain some of the unexplained physical ailments that accrue over time, even though you're compliant. Okay? So if you have enough of these experiences that that wound the soul, that wound the spirit, then they begin to deplete your life force over time. And this is why we need to heal the spirit. And then so the body conscious has its own plan for healing. Okay, sorry, I'm on day 7 of fasting. I'm still fasting, so I'm a little off. So I apologize, everybody. Um, okay, so how do we heal the spirit? Okay, so how do we heal the spirit? So we heal the spirit through spiritual practices. When you have a spiritual practice, it allows you to connect to Creator, it allows you to connect to Source. When you're able to connect to Source, then you're able to start to see all of these things which are affecting you. When you start to see these things, then you have to start changing those behaviors. Okay? Then we identify your wounded identities, and then you practice more of an attitude of gratitude, and there's positive self-talk, and you start changing your behaviors, and you start practicing good habits. And at the end of it, you also practice a growth mindset, meaning that we as individuals here, as souls, we come here to learn lessons. And when you're here to learn lessons, you have to look at your obstacle as a as part of the part of the soul's lesson plan. And so when you go through the obstacle, learn the lessons, you undergo character development, and then you grow, right? And then the physical symptoms, they begin to go away. Okay. So these wounded identities, they affect your character and influence every pattern, behavior, belief system, and perspective of the world. By identifying the wounded identities and taking massive action towards correcting said behaviors, you can achieve not only physical healing, but also personal and spiritual transformation. Your physical symptoms will go away, you'll become more connected to Source, and your life will be filled with light. So this is what's led to my, this is my heal the spirit and the body will follow suit. Okay, so within the body, we have these wounds. Each of these wounds are contributing to, when you think about it, what I found is that each of these wounds, they consume life force. If you're upset at somebody and you're angry at them and you can't forgive them, you're delegating life force and life source towards being angry and towards this particular individual. And in order to reclaim that energy, you have to forgive. You have to let go. And then you have to forgive yourself. And when you do this, then that energy returns to you and you alchemize this energy. And that's when the healing process begins. And then the physical symptoms will begin to go away. Now, first, the physical symptoms will show up on the body because that version of you is still stuck in time. So, for example, if, if for me, I got jumped when I was uh, 13. I got jumped by like 14, 15 kids. They beat me up. They tried to take my jacket. And that version, that 13-year-old version of me had very different perspectives of the world. Was very angry, very violent, yet at the same time fearful. And when I started to practice martial arts, it was to practice martial arts to get revenge. And I used anger as a fuel, as a fuel to train in martial arts. And eventually I got to a certain point where I recognized that I was filled with anger. And anger was constantly speaking in the background, in the background, constantly speaking in the background. And I was found myself to be angry all the time. And it wasn't until I recognized that, oh wow, this is the source, this is the origin of why I feel the way I feel, why these symptoms are still here, and why I believe these things. And until I went back in and started to retrieve these aspects of myself, when I did, some of these physical symptoms started to show up. Uh, that came with some of the heartburn and the stomach ulcer and all these other things that came along with that process, because that became a journey itself. And as I went through that process and I underwent that process of growth and really healing and retrieving and removing these wounds and letting go and forgiving them, and at the same time forgiving myself, because that particular event, had that not happened to me, had I not been jumped by like that 14, 15 kids, it wouldn't have gotten me into martial arts. It would have gotten me into Qigong. It wouldn't have gotten me into meditation. It would have gotten me into spiritual practices. It would have made me who I am today. And so I went back and thanked the universe for that experience. And when I did, then that version of me, that 13-year-old version of me, who's still stuck in me, who was able to heal and transform, convert from lead into gold, and reintegrate into making me more complete. And so, whatever happened to you along your life's journey, when you can look at these perspectives, no matter what happened to you, no matter how vile, I get it, right? If you can choose to forgive and let go, and at the same time forgive yourself and see that see that situation from the vision of the sky, then you can let that go. And then when you do, and when you can, then the body starts to heal and replenish. And this is how we heal the spirit. Okay? This is an aspect of how we heal the spirit. Go back to sharing screen here. We jump into the divine plan. So this was given to me. This was one of my downloads about 3 years ago. And they gave it to me in drips. So thank goodness they gave it to me in drips. But the body conscious is very much so connected to spirit. The spirit has its own curriculum for healing that supersedes any conscious effort. So unlearned lessons are kept in the body via pain, physical symptoms, mental disorders, etc. They continue to draw life force and get more dense as we age. So as we get older, there's less and less life force. And so all of these wounded identities and wounded perspectives of the world that are negative and low in vibration, of shame, of guilt, of anger, of hatred, of all of these things, of vitriol, of resentment, all of these perspectives of the world that you have within you, that's part of your community of identities, is draining your life force. And all of them are like vampires and parasites and leeches, constantly draining, pulling your life force, causing your symptoms to get worse and worse and worse as you get older, and older and older, because there's less life force. The thing is, here's the thing, because even if you're eating clean, because most people I know who are eating super clean, they're able to maintain, but they aren't able to get these symptoms to go away completely, because they haven't healed the inner child. They haven't healed that perspective. They haven't practiced forgiveness. They haven't let that thing go. They haven't changed their perspective, right? They haven't changed that belief system. They haven't let go of that wounded identity. And so until there's a transmutation, until you alchemize that wounded identity, it will continue to drain your life force. And over the years, I started to recognize that it came down to this very simple thing. Healing has very little to do with medicine and everything to do with character development. If you're looking for healing, you must transcend your current identity, your current character, and become the next best version of yourself. And when you choose to do so, then you will achieve healing. The symptoms will go away and they will stay away. And so, as far as the soul is concerned, as the soul, we're all here to learn lessons. We're all here to learn lessons. So the soul's purpose is to observe and break free from the loops and or cycles of our ancestors. Every action and or behavior omitted, conscious, unconscious, from our parents, biological and or non-biological. And so we must see these behaviors within ourselves and break free. The simulation that we're living in, right, can be referred to as the waking dream. So wake up, wake up, wake up from the waking dream, right? And free yourself from suffering and the endless cycle of reincarnation. Okay? Wake up, everybody. Wake up from the waking dream. Go through the obstacles, learn the lessons, undergo character development, access your gift, bring your gift of heaven unto earth, and let light and love spread throughout the entire earth. When they told me that this is called the waking dream, it just made sense. And I heard Jordan Peterson talk about it. He said that when you're dreaming, when you ask yourself this question, when you're dreaming, how much of the dream are you in control of? Very little. Well, if this is the waking dream, how much of the waking dream are you in control of? And so therefore, our patterns and our behaviors, whether we are conscious of them or unconscious of them, are influenced by the waking dream. And it's when you have spiritual practices in play that allows you to connect to source, that allows you to wake up, to wake up. Okay. And so here's also one of the books I highly recommend. Over the years, I've been looking for a book as far as to why people don't heal. And Carolyn Myss wrote this book. And so I read it, and it's a great book. And I made some modifications to this on this list, on my own. So if you're not healing, it's because you're not following the pyramid. If you're, I know a lot of people who are spiritual people, but they don't exercise. They don't eat right. They practice forgiveness and they do all the things, but they don't exercise, they don't eat right, and it won't be healed, it won't be achieved. I know a lot of people who exercise, they eat right, yeah, they eat right and they do all the things, but they don't have a spiritual practice and they don't practice forgiveness. The symptoms just continue to come back over and over and over again, right? And so we have to incorporate everything. If you were looking to heal, then we have to incorporate everything on that foundations, in the foundations of healing in order for you to achieve healing. Okay. The other one is you view disease as strictly a physical manifestation. The disease, your dis-ease, is not just a physical manifestation. The physical body is connected to source. This body is the tuning fork for the divine. When we're not in alignment, then the physical ailments start to occur. When you're not in alignment with your highest self and highest purpose, then physical ailments start to occur. And so usually the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that you have to do in order for you to heal, in order for the physical symptoms to go away. And again, forgiveness, changing your diet, exercising, having a spiritual practice, prayer, connecting to source. All of these things, well, when you do these things, then the physical manifestations will begin to go away. Okay. but you have to learn about yourself in this process. Okay. Third one is victim mindset. I see this time and time again. Well, my life would be better if so and so changed, and if so and so this, and so in that situation, if that situation, if that person wasn't in my life would be better. If this situation didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be like this. That's the victim mindset, where you're blaming everything else except for yourself. Whatever happened to you happened to you. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to transform your perspective on how on what happened to you and how it happened to you. So when you shift the mind around, shift its perspective, this is how you can initiate healing. And the fourth one, not receptive to undergoing character development. If you're not willing to change, your body just won't heal. If you know you got to drop 10, 20 pounds and you still go and eat all the fast food you want, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. If you know that if you have, for example, I have patients with acid reflux and GERD and heartburn. They know that fries and greasy foods and spicy foods causes their acid reflux to kick in, but yet they still go and eat it. You're constantly causing, not willing to make the changes, not willing to make the dietary changes. When I found out that, when I had the heartburn, I was changing everything. When I found out, because by the time I got the endoscopy, because I knew it was a stomach ulcer, and I didn't get an endoscopy until about maybe about 4 or 5 months later, and I just threw everything at it. And by the time I got the endoscopy, they went down there, took a look, and they were like, "Oh, it's just gastritis." And I was like, "No, to me, it was an ulcer." But all the things that I did got it to go away by the time I got the scan. And when they did the scan and the scope, it was already mostly healed. Okay. So you got to be receptive to making changes and lifestyle changes. And then the last one is your dis-ease is your identity, meaning that you're using your dis-ease, you're conflating your disease, my cancer. This is my cancer. This is my whatever condition. This language that makes you attach. When you attach it to your identity, you're attaching it to you, and then it stays a part of you. So therefore, use language that detaches you from the dis-ease that you're currently going through. I can't stress this enough. I can't. I too had to reprogram the way that I use language around how I was dealing with this. My physical body was dealing with ulcer. My physical body was dealing with mercury poisoning. My physical body is still dealing with mercury poisoning. Right? This, by using language to detach, it detaches you from that energy. There is an energy component that is unseen, that is subtle. So when you can learn to use language to detach, you can view it from the sky view. It detaches and allows you to see it for what it is and start to make changes. Okay. All right. So these are 3 books I highly recommend if you if you're having a difficult time with healing. Everything comes from a shift in mindset. Your perspective must change if you want to heal. Okay. Number one thing why people aren't healing is your wounds, your traumas, your life experiences, and also your belief system. How you think, what you think, how you perceive the world is literally killing you. So you must break the habit of this is by Joe Dispenza, breaking the habit of being yourself. You're trying to become a new version of yourself. You have to let go of an old identity. Beyond Victim Consciousness by Lynn Forrest is a great book. These are 3 great books. And The Mountain is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery. If you want to heal, you got to look at these books and really study yourself. Because the one, because some people are gonna get triggered when I say this, the problem to all of your solutions, the problem to everything is you. And the solution to everything is also you. So the old you who's wounded and hurt and victimized, that you's gotta go. And you must birth a new you. Because the old you is literally killing you, causing all these physical symptoms, causing nothing more than just pain management and not healing. So when you start taking action, start observing yourself, studying yourself as to why you are the way you are. Now, it's one thing to study and just know about yourself. It's a whole nother thing to study yourself and then make massive changes. Once you start taking action towards making changes, that's when healing starts happening. Until that's done, what I see people doing, let me close this real quick. I'm going to vent a little bit because I'm mad. Over the years, I started recognizing when I look at healing communities, everybody who's doing any kind of healing work, everybody's talking about their problems. Oh, this happened to me, so therefore that's why I am the way I am. Oh, this happened to me, so that's why I'm the way I am. And this happened, so that's why I am the way. So I know and I study myself, and this is the way I am. I'm like, but did you have to be? But do you have to be? Can you be a better version of yourself? Do you have to be that way? Okay, yes, that's cool. And you're doing healing work and you're journaling about it all day, all night. But if you're journaling about something for 10 plus years and you're still the same person, you're not healing. You're wasting paper. And you're sitting in healing circles talking about yourself and not making any changes. You're not healing. So in order to heal, you have to learn about yourself, study yourself, and then actually correct those behaviors. I have a wall right there. There's my dry erase board with a list of all my character defects and character flaws. It's a long list and still kind of growing. I've been able to manage to cross out 2 of them. Healing requires you to really look at yourself, really dig deep, and like, oh, I learned about something. I learned something about Peng today, and that was shameful. Okay, cool. Well, why does Peng, my physical avatar Peng, respond and react and think this way when he's in this particular environment? Well, is that healthy? It's not healthy. Okay, cool. Well, why is it like that? Okay, okay, got it. Next time I go into this particular situation, I'm going to observe myself and then make changes. I'm going to go in there knowing that these are the behaviors that are going to show up. And so therefore I need to make changes. For example, holidays are coming up. Go to Thanksgiving, go to Christmas, and you start to recognize those patterns, behaviors that have been influenced in the family system. Your family system had patterns that are keeping you sick, keeping you stuck, and keeping you in these perpetual loops and unlearned lessons. And so when you start to see the lessons, you have to break free from the lessons, get yourself back involved into those lessons and sessions, situations, and then see what happens, see where you're at. It's a test. And to see if you have grown enough to remove yourself from those patterns, right? And this is how we heal, okay? Because those patterns cause issues, cause the physical symptoms, okay? I hope everybody's okay with this. Okay.
Peng, I have a quick question. It's Ava. Are we
Ava?
going to have time to ask questions at the end?
Yeah, yeah, fire away. Actually, let's see here. Actually, go ahead, fire away.
What were you just talking about before you changed the screen? I'm a little thrown off by the technology because I'm a relationship person, people person. So what were you sharing just a moment ago?
just a moment ago.
Just
What
a
did
moment
you,
you're sharing. You were
was it,
sharing
was it
about
glitching?
being victims. People talk incessantly about their whatever's they've got going on. Um, so I've noticed that people are really attached to their stories, and that if they don't complete their story, the one that they took on when they were 5 or 8 or 10 or 13 or 25 or 50, then they keep creating that. So it's like what you speak, you become, right?
Correct. 100%.
Yeah. And when you're working with your patients, just to back up, I grew up in Long Beach, California, went to UC Santa Barbara, lived in San Francisco for 15 years. And that's when I started using Chinese medicine as my main form of healthcare. And so for 36 years, that has been my main form of healthcare. And what I love about acupuncture and Chinese medicine is it does get to that source, energy flow, all of that. And I've done a lot of personal growth and transformation, healing a lot of traumas and stories and things that don't serve me and all that. So when do you bring this into your practice? When do you say, hey, you've been having this perpetuating thing for so long. When do you say something to your clients? Do you have that straight talk conversation?
Yeah, it depends on what's happening to them on the table. So some of my patients, they'll get downloads on the. I hope this is making sense. Okay.
Oh yeah, I grew
Okay.
up in this genre.
Okay.
I'm a
So
child of the 60s. Yes, go ahead.
okay. So then when I give when they do their qigong, those who do qigong practices, or when they get acupuncture, they'll get downloads
Right,
because when the divine energy pours through the body, it starts to, and the energy begins to fill and highlight everything. Then the chi begins to move. Anything that's not moving, anything that's stuck and stagnant comes to the surface. As it comes to the surface, that patient may experience it on the table. They'll have flashbacks, muscle twitches, because the body remembers everything.
right.
Because that memory is stored in the body. So then those memories will come forward. That person will experience certain things, and then I'll ask them questions. Hey, what did you experience? Is it I saw this and this happened, and I had these muscle twitches. Okay, cool. And once I don't lead them anywhere. I don't. It's not like a therapy session
Right. You
where
ask questions, you have them inquire into themselves.
yep. And then based upon what the body is planning for them,
Mhm.
what the body is releasing, bringing to the surface, then, oh, okay, that's happening. Okay, so if you're experiencing this, and that means, well, let's take a look at that. Um, and we make adjustments, right? So I'll tell them, again, there's so many things, but
Sure. Well, you've been
uh,
practicing for a long time and you're a wise soul and you have a lot to share. So there's only so much you can fit in.
I try to do my best. Um, but certain things, for example, for some people, they know that a relationship is not working for them, but they're stuck in it and they stay stuck in it. And then the chest starts to cave, the back starts to hunch, the neck pain starts to show up. We start to see these physical manifestations of the heart closing off. And so the heart center closing off, so the chest caves, the back hunches, the neck tightens, and they're not speaking up. And so now they start having more throat issues, they start having chest issues, they start having palpitations, they start having difficulty falling asleep. All these symptoms which lead to a disconnect, right? And then libido's gone, all of these things. But then, and I don't encourage anything. I'm just saying, hey, this is what's happening, and they will feel. And when you needle, then they will come to their own conclusion. I'm not supposed to be with so and so, or
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be doing this, that. Like, I'm not telling you anything. Your body's telling you that. Yeah. So
Awesome.
the
Thank
body,
you
yeah.
for that clarification. Because I've been seeing an advanced Chinese medicine doctor who has a PhD in acupuncture from China here in um, the Minneapolis area. And you may
Hmm.
even know her, but I'm not going to say her name.
Hmm.
Um, she is so good at reading me. And at the same time, she doesn't ask those questions, unfortunately.
Mhm,
She's more traditional in her practice.
mhm.
And so I really appreciate that you're like the next generation of Chinese medicine doctors who, you know, go deeper and are looking at the whole spirit and the body consciousness and all that. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
there's a lot of things that there's a lot of things that I'm seeing, and it's frustrating me. It really is because when you see these symptoms that just won't go away,
Mhm.
and it really frustrates me. But the moment and but say that particular person left that situation, and then their physical symptoms started getting better, and this other person who never spoke up for themselves, who had all this anger bottled up but never spoke up, now this person started speaking up, and now this right who is more like agreeable is now disagreeable, is now
Right.
speaking
Open
out. Uh-huh.
conversation and straight talk. Yeah.
Yep. Now, because this person is actually speaking out, there's less acne, there's less um, uh, difficulty falling asleep, there's less insomnia, there's less uh, heart palpitations, there's less blood pressure goes down. Like you can medicate these things all you want, but you can't medicate anger,
Right.
yeah, and resentment. And so these symptoms, we have to address these things because this is the soul, the spirit. When the spirit will just continue to follow, the body will continue to follow suit with the spirit. Yeah. So when these things come forward, I do my best to address them, and then the body will just keep telling. The body knows. The body knows what you're supposed to be here to do. And when you don't do what you're here to do, the body will punish you. Sorry, wrong words. The body will show you that you are not in alignment. Let
Gently
me,
show you. How about that?
yes. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
The body will give you opportunities to learn your lessons. There you go.
Yeah.
Opportunities. Okay. That's nice and encouraging. But but this is what I've found. And so we can medicate these things all day. And medications just stop the symptom, stop the current symptom you're experiencing. And what do we do when we cover a volcano? Something else over here blows up. And so we're just symptom chasing until we get to the root cause and really address these emotional issues,
Mhm.
then the body just won't heal. And that's why I'm doing this talk. Um,
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. I don't want to take up any more time because you probably still have some more to present. I just wanted to ask you that question and highlight that you're doing amazing work.
Thank you, Ava. Really appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on. No, it's good. I really value the input. Okay, so let's do. Okay. Yep. So 3 books. Yeah, amazing. Okay. So here's my offer. Okay. So the Formless Form Qigong course is what I offer. So my Formless Form Qigong course um, is unique. It's very unique. So the Qigong that I teach slowly and gradually restores your life force, highlighting the wounded identities which are inflicting damages done unto your body. These wounded identities come with physical symptoms which are locked in or trapped in those specific events within your lifetime. We will address these symptoms through detox, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and lots of Qigong to connect you to your higher power. Yeah. So I want to talk about my Qigong course real quick. So my next Qigong course launches next week, Tuesday. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 Central Standard Time. It is an online course. It's a purely online course, and we can do it over Zoom. The course is a 10-week course. Every week, there's content that drips out. So it's week one will drip out content, and then week two will drip out content, which stacks on top of week one. And then week three will drip out content, which stacks on top of week one and week two, and on and on and on and on. Most of the Qigong that's being taught out there are a series of exercises that you learn, you go through the movement and you breathe, and that's good. But it doesn't, but what I'm doing is a series of series of exercises, what I teach is a series of exercises which leads to a series of transformations. The transformations first are to purge and disrupt and to shake and bring out these memories from the body conscious out of the body. When this happens, okay, because it was why I put a warning label in my Qigong class. Not everybody does that, but I do. The reason why I put a warning label on it is because it brings these things out. When it brings these things out, these emotions, these wounded identities, they are toxins, energetic toxins in the body. And so they are draining your life force. You got to move the parasite, transmute the parasite in order to heal. And so my Qigong course, I call it Qigong, my Qigong course is the energetic detox you didn't know you needed. It is the energetic detox you did not know you needed. Because everybody talks about energy purification and they're waving crystals and burning sage. It's not enough. You gotta do the work. You gotta move the body. You gotta tap into source, draw this energy into the body, disrupt the energy, bring these things to the surface. And then when you are confronted with these things, you have to learn how to observe them and then transmute them. It will not be healing. True healing is not a flowery, superficial, look at me, I'm spiritual approach to healing. True healing can be bitter. It can be hurtful. It can be scary at times. But when you're willing to go through and look at yourself and make changes, then you will achieve healing. Okay? And I've seen this time and time again, which is what makes me so excited for the work that I do and the things that I offer. Because I've had patients who have been struggling for years with all kinds of things. And they take my course, they follow my protocol, they come get the acupuncture, and they're willing to do the deep inner self-reflection work. They reflect on themselves and they start making changes. These things that they've been struggling for with over 10 plus decades are going away. I get text messages. It's always from my patients who are like, hey, I did this, celebrating. And I love it. Those things light my day up. But when you go through this process, if you're able to go through and make the changes and look at yourself from the sky view, then things within you will change. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do one last thing, and then we'll go for Q&A. All right. I am hungry. There's 7. I'm hungry. I'm shaking right now. Okay. So despite my hunger pains, I'm gonna I'm gonna read an article that I wrote for The Edge magazine a while ago. It's called "Awakening Isn't for Everyone." Okay. So spiritual awakening isn't for everyone. Okay. So regardless of what the gurus or certified life coaches are selling to you, a true awakening is messy. It's raw, honest, vulnerable, profound, and not as wonderful or blissful as many make it out to be. Nor it is a virtue signaling, hand waving, spiritual meme posting, look at me, I'm spiritual and you don't understand my suffering attempt to call attention to yourself to seek external validation from others. No, it's far from that. It's a complete teardown of the identity in which you have constructed for others to see in the exchange for who you are meant to be, a higher purpose, a higher calling, a deep and profound awakening. A true awakening is not changing who you are, but a process of discarding who you are not, an honest self-reflection of your propensity to entertain the darkness within. It's a process of unbecoming to become. It is a process of aligning who you are currently with who you are meant to be divinely, the highest self, divine self, ideal self, or eternal self in your true God, goddess-like form, embodied within this physical vehicle. A true awakening is the beginning of an identity crisis. You will experience much suffering before this can occur, and very few, have the tenacity to answer the call. If you're reading this article right now, perhaps you're being called. But remember this, you're not special. Many are called. Very few are chosen. And here's the secret. No one has the ability to choose you but you. Your daily actions, habits, and routines determine your capacity for calling. You choose you daily through removing habits which aren't in alignment with your highest self. The whole of our identity, the whole of our identity is composed of a community of identities. And as you embark upon a genuine awakening, identities within you, which hold the lowest of frequencies, will become more pronounced, unconsciously affecting your main identity and therefore affecting your character. And your job, if you so valiantly choose to accept the call, is to embark upon a journey which requires the destruction of the ego, the self, and let go of all perceptions of who you are currently for an opportunity to align yourself with your highest self or highest purpose. You must be valiant and remain vigilant, and your character flaws will make themselves known every step of the way. This is a daunting task, that's for sure. This is healing, my friends, and it doesn't occur overnight. It can't be found in the next book. It doesn't happen over 3 weekend workshops, and it sure as hell can't be made into a certificate which can be handed out. No human being can validate how far you've come except for you and your higher power. However, you'll need to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who already paved the way, individuals who are pursuing their truth, their purpose, and who are willing to shift out of victim mindset and into growth mindset. This is a red pill moment for those of you who are ready. I'm tired of handing out blue pills. I've been handing out blue pills for years, and frankly, I'm sick of it. If you want to play it safe, stay comfortable, and live in certainty, keep dabbling, taking classes, drifting, and gathering as many certificates as you can to appease yourself with outside external validation. Pop your blue pills and go back to what you know to be true, because you're not ready for what I have to offer. And I say this with love, unapologetically, but with love nonetheless. But for those of you who are ready for the red pill, know this: there are multiple red pills along the way. And with each breakdown, which will lead to your breakthrough, you will have to decide what kind of truths you are ready to face, but more importantly, more valiantly, which truths you are ready to swallow, and how much truth you can hold down. The breakdowns will be hard, hurtful, painful even. Cognitive dissonance will be your normal, and there will be times where you will hate me, spite me, curse me even, shake your fist and ask why. This wasn't the awakening that you wanted, but this will be the awakening that you needed. My name is Peng Ron He. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, medical intuitive, and master of Qigong. I've been studying martial arts, Qigong, and meditation since I was 13 years old. More importantly, I've been studying myself, and man, Peng has many flaws. It's not easy. It was never easy. It will never be easy, but it is simple. And I've given myself the title of master out of necessity, not out of clout or a sense of entitlement. For years, I've been pulling my punches, watching the suffering continue due to misinformation from the well-intended people, vilifying and censoring myself in attempts to not ruffle feathers or change the ideas of others. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. My voice is now needed more than ever before. And for those of you who have been waiting for me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm ready now. True transformation requires honest self-reflection and nothing less. It's go time, and I've been waiting for you too. Grab an acupuncture session from me and get a taste for what's to come. If you're hungry for more, my next Qigong class starts next week. So another Qigong class? No, it's not just another series of exercises or tricks to move energy. Classes like that are a dime a dozen. What I'm offering to you is a series of exercises which will lead to a series of transformations. The transformations can be earth-shattering, so come prepared. Not everyone is ready for what I have to teach, even those who think that they're ready. If my choice of words and execution rubbed you wrong, good. This was intentional. It lets you know that I'm not going to be your cup of tea. However, if my execution perked you up and got you excited, good. You're my ideal client. I've been waiting for you. Or rather, you've been waiting for me. Let's not waste our precious time anymore. There's much to do. Let's rapidly move out of suffering and into healing. I can't heal you. No one can but you. However, I can align you to your higher source. I can show you the door. but you must walk through. Let's stop talking about healing and actually start doing it. Multiple red pills lie on your way. It's go time. So this is the article that I wrote a while back because I started to get, there are, okay, let's bring things up to speed and then I won't take any more of your time.
Question, can I get a copy of that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, thank you. Maybe everyone wants one. That was beautiful. Really inspiring. Do you
Thank
have an
you.
older brother, a much older brother?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No. Thank you, though. So here's what's happening right now on the planet, okay? If you are any bit sensitive to energy, we are on some major changes on the planet right now. The collective consciousness is raising to a higher frequency. Heaven is beginning to descend upon Earth, okay? And so here's Earth, also us, the physical avatar. Here's heaven, the higher self, the higher soul. You, the higher soul, you, heaven, right? As heaven begins to descend upon Earth, it will bring it down with it all the higher frequencies of heaven, lower frequencies of Earth. As heaven begins to descend, it's going to raise the vibrations of Earth. Anything within you that is lower vibration in nature will have to move out. If you don't transmute and transform it, as heaven descends, you will be crushed. You will be crushed by your inability to forgive, your inability to make changes, your inability to become the best version of yourself. And so we're already seeing it. This has been happening. This started already since when COVID hit. There is a massive shift in the collective consciousness. So we're going to see more calamities. We're going to see things change. And we have to. I'd like to encourage you to make changes. When you start making changes, then the integration can happen. Okay? Because it might happen in my lifetime, but we are going to experience heaven on earth. When this happens, we have to transmute all the lead, all the wounded identities within us and heal them in order for our physical vehicles to accept and embrace the divine energy, healing energy, all the divine energies. We can, then eventually this happens. Union. The physical avatar unites and unifies with the higher soul. They call it yoga. That's yoga is to achieve union. The physical body achieves union with the higher self, the higher soul. And so heaven is beginning to descend. We're going to see a lot of things change. And people will have to start doing this inner work. People will start needing to do the internal work. And if we don't, then we're going to see a lot of physical conditions come up. And we're in for a ride, folks. And so I want to really just encourage people that look, healing is more than just the things that we're doing. Healing requires a spiritual practice that allows you to connect to source. And so you can hear the direct messages, all the forces in play, your angels, your guides, all the beings of the heavenly realms that are trying to help you wake up. They're constantly talking to you. But if your body is not in the right frequency to receive, you can't receive and you can't interpret information properly. So we got to detox. You got to detox by eating cleaner, got to get rid of the toxins. And we also do spiritual practices, the Qigong practice, which is also an energetic detox, which allows you to get rid of these emotions and these wounds, which are keeping you stuck in perpetual loops. The cycle of life that's why we have reincarnation. Anybody who doesn't complete their lessons, they have to come back and they have to repeat the wheel. It becomes, reincarnation is an infinite Groundhog's Day except for the soul. And so the soul sends an aspect of themselves to undo karma, to to undo karma, to pay this karmic debt, and to put out more positive stuff. So if you're putting more negative stuff out there, whether it be conscious or unconscious, you're getting more negative stuff back. You need to transform and transmute these things as heaven begins to descend. One more thing, because this is important. As heaven begins to descend, the vibrations are faster, so karmic lessons are speeding up. You're going to start to see people who aren't learning lessons going to have very difficult times with those lessons, whether it be with relationships, whether it be with your finances, or whether it be with your health. So we're at a point where karma is beginning to accelerate. As heaven begins to descend, karma is accelerating, meaning that all the lessons that you, the soul, we all work for God. We all work for God. We all came here to bring heaven on earth. And in order to bring heaven on earth, we bring heaven on earth through us, through our conversion of healing the ancestries, healing all the ancestral wounds, and healing all of your wounds. Everybody who can heal themselves, you're healing you, like a lot of people doing ancestral healing, right? Ancestral healing isn't just healing your ancestors through a ceremony. Ancestral healing is you becoming the best version of yourself, undoing all the things that you inherited. All your character flaws are inherited, right? The sins of our fathers. So diseases are character flaws found within the genetic code. So when you change your character flaws, you get rid of the disease. The dis-ease will go away. So as heaven is beginning to descend, things are going to accelerate. All the unlearned lessons are going to make it really difficult. And so for the people who aren't in alignment, and the people who are in alignment, they will be in alignment. Everything they touch will turn to gold. But the people who aren't, it's going to be nothing but chaos. And so we must learn to look at ourselves, study the physical avatar. I study Peng every day, and I'm still making changes. And then prepare, because there's a lot of things happening. Okay? And I'll just leave it at that. I'm taking so much of your time, but I'll leave it at there. I'll be here for another 15 minutes if you guys if you want to do some Q&A, I can answer some questions. Otherwise, I'm gonna head home and eat soon. So thank you everybody for attending. I'm gonna I'll email a link for those of you guys who want to take the class. The class is 10 weeks, starts next week, Tuesday. The cost is $697. It is $697 plus tax for the online course. Everything is recorded, and then we meet on Zoom live. And from there, there's also a private Facebook group that you can join. And we meet up. When you do these practices, the reason why it's important to have the group is when you do these practices, you'll experience certain things. You begin to feel chi, that the invisible forces around you, you'll begin to notice them. As you begin to notice these things, it feels a little unreal. And then you want to have a community in order to understand what it is that you're experiencing. And then we can kind of talk and coach and guide you through the process for all the things that are coming up. Because it's like things will come up, and that's the whole point. Healing requires things to come up. Right? So if there are toxic emotions in the body, if those things don't come out, it's not going to move. Okay?